stream. Starting the stream.
Boo, ba ba, ba ba ba, boo, ba ba. Who's the man who will speak the truth? Boo, ba ba, ba ba ba, boo, ba ba. Lone candles, that man. Who's the man who will bring light into your life? Boo, ba ba, ba ba ba, boo. Ba ba, lone candles, that man. Who's the man who digs through human excrement to present you the gems? Boo, ba ba, ba boo, ba boo, ba ba, lone candles, that man. Who's the man who kinda sometimes knows what he's talking about? Boo, ba ba, ba ba da, boo. Ba ba, lone candles, that man. Who's the man who has a scatterbrained, low IQ, and weak memory recall? Boo, ba ba, ba ba da, boo. Ba ba, lone candles, that man. Who's the man who plays games and complains that he sucks at them? Boo, ba ba, ba ba da, boo, ba ba, lone candles, that man.
Hello, and welcome to ReplyGuying with Lone Candle. Or I reply guy with random people on the internet. Yeah! Cool. Alright, so today, I had a handful of comments on this video, and a handful of people had a handful of comments on me. Actually, mainly just one guy. And so this was just C-SPAN, and it was President's speech, or President's, I guess it was kind of a speech, but his conference about the Supreme Court knocking down a lot of his tariffs. And I had some comments to the video. Oh, I have them set up over here. All right. So, Lone Candle said, Trump is incompetent on the issues and has severe, dangerous personality issues. But he really is likable. He's funny and fun to watch. And so I'm watching this, and I watched the whole thing, and I find myself finding him very hilarious, even likable. Like in just a, this guy's kind of funny and fun to listen to. Yeah, oh, that's funny. Just his personality. Which, is part of the reason he's been successful, I guess. All right, another comment. It sounds like the dissent said there are legal ways to do similar tariffs. That is not the Supreme Court confirms these methods. So Trump made the claim that there's other methods by which he can do tariffs. And he made the claim that the Supreme Court confirms these methods. But it was actually the dissent confirming them. And those are the minority. That's not the same as the Supreme Court confirming them. Now, maybe a majority would also confirm them, but that's not what happened here. And so Trump gave a little fib there, an exaggeration, at the very least a false and misleading statement. Okay. And Lone Candle also said, the man wanted to kiss him, but Trump said, no thank you. So Trump was telling the story about how he's in a factory, I think it was a steel worker, and the steel worker was so appreciative of the steel tariffs that he wanted to kiss him. And Trump was like, no thank you. Anyways, it was funny. It was really funny. I thought it was a hilarious joke. It was both funny that, he's making a, no thanks, I don't want to kiss a dude joke, while also talking about how great he is that straight men want to kiss him. And those combined was funny. Someone commented to me, he went on and on about that and made a sick face. All right, here's the meat of what we have for you today. If Trump thinks the powers given to him by the Congress are ridiculous, then he should complain to Congress, not the Supreme Court. So he was complaining about, well, these powers are ridiculous. I can actually fully embargo or fully cut off all trade, but I can't put on a tariff? Well, the powers are given to him by Congress through the Constitution. The power to tax was given to Congress, and then Congress wrote laws to give some of that power to Trump. And so if Trump thinks the powers he has are ridiculous, we don't blame the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's just reading the law. The ones who decided to give him big powers in some ways and small powers are others are the Congress. So he should complain directly to them, and not just complain to them, he should work with them. All right, so this person said, he knew he couldn't get the majority of Congress to agree, and he assumed the Supreme Court would bow to his every whim. Okay, and then people talk to him. I don't care about that. Someone said, Congress doesn't give Trump powers. The Constitution does. Which, here we're talking about tariffs, and the Constitution is pretty black and white on taxes. The power to tax is given to the Congress, not the presidency. And a tariff is simply a tax on imports. It's kind of like a sales tax, but only on things brought up from outside the country. And so a tariff is a tax, and it's well understood that Congress has that power, but it can give some of those powers to the president if it wants by passing a law and the president signing it and making it a law and says, okay, you can do tariffs in these situations. And so this is just factually inaccurate. This guy, Joseph Smith, 4161, is just straight up wrong, factually inaccurate. So I said, the Constitution gives the power to tax to the Congress. Congress has the constitutional power to tax. If Trump's tariff power was from the Constitution, then he would have cited the Constitution, not an act of Congress, to execute tariffs. Congress gave Trump the power to tariff in limited circumstances, but not just to do whatever he wants and to say any problem is an emergency, justifying tariffs. Any chance that Trump has the power to tariff is because he got that power by an act of Congress, not the Constitution itself. Yeah, and as I said here, Trump himself agrees that Joseph Smith here is wrong. Trump himself knows that he gets his power from laws passed by Congress. That's why he cites laws passed by Congress for the power. If it came from the Constitution himself, he wouldn't cite these different laws. Every tariff he has cites a law, and he's citing different laws depending on the type of tariff. And once these were knocked down, and in this very video, the C-SPAN video, Trump announced, well, these are knocked down, so I'm going to use this other law passed by Congress to justify my tariffs. If it came from the Constitution, he wouldn't be searching for laws. He would just go straight to the Constitution and cite that. So clearly Trump understands, or at least his people, that the power to tariff comes from the Congress through the laws it's passed. So even Trump doesn't agree with Joseph Smith's assertion here. So he said the Constitution does give the president the ability to unilaterally impose tariffs up to 50% higher on other nations' own tariffs imposed on the U.S. I don't make it up as I go along. That's right in the Constitution. So this is really weird because he doesn't just claim, that the power to tariff is in the Constitution. He had this specific thing. It's 50% higher than the nation's own tariffs imposed on the U.S. And then he goes and says, I'm not making it up. But it really sounds like he's just making stuff up because that's made up. That's not true. He's confused about something. And so it's really weird that he says, I don't just make stuff up, what he is. And he says it's right in the Constitution, which, the Constitution's pretty look-upable. It's not that big of a document. You can easily find full text on the internet. It's in English. And so, yeah, it's not there. Okay. So I said, it sounds like you are literally making that up. Where in the Constitution does it say that? Look, I am a human being. I am flawed in many, many, many ways. I could be wrong. Just show me where in the Constitution it says that. Now, this isn't a ridiculously complicated legal question. He says black and white. It says it can do it. It even says he can do it in this specific scenario of 50% or higher based on their tariffs. Well, then show me where in the Constitution it says that. You don't need to go through reams and reams of legal documents and laws. No, just go to the Constitution. It's not that long. Where does it say that? At least, cite what you're getting it from, and we can analyze it. And he said, see, That's your compulsion because you are programmed by the media. Just believe what they tell you, and you happily oblige and don't do your homework. That's a you problem. The media has falsely told you that the president cannot unilaterally impose tariffs. It is untrue. Spoiler alert, Anderson Cooper, Woofy Blitzer, Joy Reid, etc. They are disingenuous liars and / or don't know what they're talking about. Okay, so notice I just requested, where in the Constitution does it say that? It's a very specific request. And, if he doesn't feel like talking to me, he can walk away. But if you're going to make this claim and I ask, well, you can either walk away or you can, cite where you got it from. Those are the two legitimate responses. Walk away, decide you're done with it. Okay, it's cool. You don't have to talk to me. But if you're going to respond, don't just make shit up. That he's just claiming a bunch of things about me personally, making an ad hom attack, talking about my media diet, which he has no idea what my media diet is. He's literally just making all this up, attacking me baselessly, instead of talking about the actual issue. And he could easily prove his point. Just find where in the Constitution it says that. I asked him directly. He cares enough to respond and write this rant about my supposed media diet. Why not just look it up and prove your point? I'm open. I just need enough evidence. Yeah, just convince me. I'm open to be convinced, Joseph Smith. If that is your real name. I want to see the golden plates, too, while you're at it. Okay, this is him. Okay, these are people talking to each other. I don't care about that. So here's my response to that right here. The media didn't tell me that. The Constitution told me that. Instead of dealing with my objections, you falsely insult me and go on to rant against the media. ... He said, the only reason you would say the President of the United States cannot unilaterally impose tariffs is because the media told you so. False. The Constitution says otherwise. Okay, that's basically him just repeating what he said last time. All right. Where in the Constitution? Here's the beginning of Article 1, Section 8. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. What articles... Okay, that's the end of the quote. End quote. And so this is where, in the Constitution, a direct quote, not just quoting it, but telling you what part I got it from, it gives the Congress the power to tax, collect duties. And tariff, it clearly falls within that. And so what article and section does it give the president your claimed tariff powers? Quote it. Look, I'm not being hypocritical here. I was willing to quote the section I think gives it to Congress. Show me yours. I showed you mine. Show me yours. Come on, don't be ashamed. Let me see it. Maybe even touch it. Assuming you're 18 and older. All right, and you keep it clean. Keep it clean, or I don't want it at all. Anyways, he said, as you quote the Constitution that doesn't say anything about tariffs, yes, it doesn't say the word tariff. It says the word taxes, duties. Well, that's what tariffs are. And again, if the Constitution spells out, no, actually, that's different, well then, show me where it says that. Show me where it says, oh no, the tariffs are separate and those go to the president. Remember, he's claiming the Constitution directly gives the president power to tariff. So if it does, just show it to me. This makes it appear very strongly like it does not. But if there's one that overrides this, that says, no, yeah, these things, but yeah, tariffs, which are not taxes, which even though they are, is given to the president, well, show it to me. Just look it up. It's not that hard. All right. You're just upset you were lied to. Again, just making shit up about me, and it's attack ad hom. It's not cool. That's not cool, Joseph. It's really not. And now you are realizing it, just making stuff up about my own mental state. If by insulting you mean I'm pointing out that you're lazy and won't do your homework, yeah, sure. Even though, look what he's responding to. Me doing my homework, reading the Constitution, and even quoting it for him. Meanwhile, I'm asked him twice, where in the Constitution you're making a direct constitutional claim, show it to me, and he hasn't done the homework, and therefore he just assumes something, and I don't know where he got it from, ironically, hypocritically, probably from some biased media, or he just got confused on his own. I don't know. But the irony of saying, well, do your homework. Well, no, I have done my homework. I've even looked for what he said in the Constitution, and I showed him where it says otherwise. Okay, but he won't actually do the homework. The hypocrisy, Joseph. I also want to see the golden plates. Okay. If the president can't unilaterally impose tariffs, why were some of the tariffs Trump imposed not struck down by the Supreme Court? Well, that's because they get them from different laws. There are multiple laws that could be read as to give Trump tariff powers in different circumstances. And in different circumstances, Trump uses different laws. This is not like me speculating. He openly says, and his team says, we're using this law to justify this tariff, we're using this law to justify this tariff. So again, if he would have done his homework, he wouldn't need to ask me this question. So, we're arguing with ignorance, not just ignorance, but anti-ignorance, because he actually believes a bunch of things that are false. Okay, are you wiser to the Constitution than the Supreme Court justices? Yeah, so that seems to assume that this question makes any sense when the answer to it's actually pretty clear. It's not pretty clear. It's 100% clear if you're actually in the know, which is that, no, Trump is citing different laws by Congress, not the Constitution. Okay. And also, if it was directly from the Constitution, this Supreme Court wouldn't have struck down any of the laws. All right, so I said tariffs are taxes, and the Constitution gives the power to tax to Congress. Notice, you are not citing the Constitution at all to support your claim, and then say, I'm not doing my homework, ... Again, you asked me a question that you would know the answer to if you did even a little homework. And again, although I do think it's sometimes fair to critique people for not doing basic homework. I mean, if we're having a conversation, especially if it's on the internet and it's not live, this isn't a live conversation, and you can take the time to Google something quickly, it actually is on you if you haven't done a little homework and bring it to the table. And so it can be fair maybe to criticize them, but still not in good taste, because it's better just to focus on the issue. However, the reason I'm doing it is because he's multiple times falsely and basically accused me of not doing homework, while hypocritically obviously not doing his homework. And at that point, I think it's justified to point out the hypocrisy. Okay, so the Congress has passed multiple laws that give the president the power to impose tariffs in certain circumstances. The struck down tariffs were only related to one law. So the tariffs that were not even looked at in the case were not struck down, partly because they weren't looked at, and partly because the president is using other laws passed by Congress to legalize his tariffs. Oh yeah, so the Supreme Court case was looking at tariffs justified by a particular law. It wasn't looking at all tariffs. It wasn't even looking at it. It wasn't even considering all the tariffs. It was only considering the tariffs from one justified using one particular law. And they said, nope. That law does not give Trump the power to do this, does not give the president the power to do this, and so they struck them down. The other ones weren't struck down partly because A, they weren't even considering them, because that's not how the Supreme Court works, or at least not in this case. And B, that's one reason they're struck down, but B, maybe those laws are used correctly. I don't know if Trump uses other laws correctly, but that would require a separate lawsuit for those tariffs. But yeah, so Trump was not the Supreme Court wasn't looking at all tariffs. They were just looking at ones justified by a particular law. Other tariffs use different laws, and those were not looked at all by the Supreme Court. So they didn't even consider whether they're legal or not. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't know. Remember, not even the administration is claiming unilateral constitutional power to use tariffs. So the administration, it doesn't even agree with him. Remember, not even the administration is claiming unilateral constitutional power to use tariffs. They are searching for congressionally passed laws that arguably give them the power to execute tariffs. Look at the new ones Trump announced. He is citing congressionally passed law, not simply the Constitution. There would be no need to cite a law if the president has the power to execute tariffs on his own. The Supreme Court has said, or the Supreme Court has done or said nothing to suggest they agree with your position. And that was about the end of it there. So, Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, am I being trolled? Am I being trolled here? Wouldn't surprise me. But you know, one problem with things like politics and society, religion, these type of topics is the troll from the average person. I hate to say this, but it's true. The average person are indistinguishable because the average person does have really ignorant, biased views about these type of topics. Even if they're a smart person, they do. And so you can't really tell the difference between a troll and a non-troll. Anyways, this person said he did, referring to my original comment here, and like he did complain. In that speech, he did complain about Congress, but he needs to complain to Congress, and really more than complain, he needs to work with them to try to get a new law. And if he can't, well, sorry, if Congress didn't give you the law, then you don't have the power to do it. If you want to act illegally and continue this thing we call democracy, which isn't just about voting, but is about using powers within the law given to you. Okay, so the Supreme Court gave a straightforward ruling based on the law. And he's complained to Congress and just Congress, you know. The Supreme Court's ruling was really pretty straightforward. And actually, the three who didn't support the ruling, I think that's pretty questionable because the law was actually pretty straightforward that it did not give Trump this power. Okay, and he shouldn't simply complain. His focus should be on getting things through Congress rather than abusing his power and acting illegally. All right, so that's all I had for you here. Oh, there's me just quoting Trump. I don't talk to CNN. It's fake news. So he's doing this big press conference, and there's a bunch of reporters, and one of them is just asking him a normal question, just starts to ask the question, and then he realizes it's CNN, so he goes, I don't talk to CNN. It's fake news, which, of course, is a lie. CNN's not perfect, but it's not fake news. They're probably going to ask him a reasonable question, and he just shuts them down. That's not something a good president does, not something a good person does. A big, good, honest person doesn't just straight up lie. This was a lie about CNN. And a good politician, CNN's a major news network, and you're talking about major news, and he took several questions. Certainly, if they're going to ask a question, he should answer it and not just say, I don't talk to CNN. It's fake news. That's not cool of Trump. And it's frankly embarrassing for the nation. It's a threat to democracy when you shut down reporters and just straight up lie about them. Okay. All right. So this was another episode of ReplyGuying with Lone Candle. I hope you liked it, all millions of you watching around the world. And I'm kind of thirsty, so I'm going to end the stream after I get a quick drink of water. Oh. Oh. End stream.